Hey friends, this is Annette, back with Chronic Wellness. Perhaps you remember a few months ago I was sitting here in dismay and outrage about the fact that only one of my nurses in the infusion clinic that I go to for my chemo treatments was vaccinated. And the intense frustration I was feeling about the fact that only people with autoimmune diseases who are immune suppressed and compromised visit that infusion clinic. So I thought that I would make this message sort of a follow-up. So this is part 2 of Standing in Outrage. Since the time of that video, I contemplated lots of things about how to proceed because I felt so stuck. And I contacted the manager of the clinic and expressed my fears and concerns. And about the same time that happened, the one nurse that was vaccinated was released from her position. So then I was in an even worse position. None of the nurses in the clinic were vaccinated. And then very shortly after that, the governor of my state, the state of Oregon, mandated that all healthcare workers be vaccinated. And that went into effect on September 17th or 18th. Well, my next infusion was due 3 weeks prior to that. And so I postponed my infusion. Well, my my infusions are timed. We've been working on this over years. My infusions are timed so that I really need them by the time I get them. And so those 3 weeks were pretty excruciating. What happens is that my infusion keeps the B cells in my body from maturing, and the B cells are a big part of our defense in our immune system. So as my B cells come back online, my body starts fighting itself. And so for me, that means a number of things, from my joints becoming more inflamed, but in particular, my large muscle groups start the process of muscle wasting. And so by the end of that 3 weeks that I'd put off the infusion, I could hardly stand from a seated position again. You know, I was on the toilet calling to my wife to have her help me come get up. I was having difficulty getting out of our bed and that kind of thing. And I got a call when it was time for me to go in for my infusion saying, "Hey, Annette, we need to postpone you 1 more week." That I was really frustrated by. And when I went in just in the last couple of days to get my infusion, I learned that the reason I had to postpone was that one of my nurses and her whole family got COVID. When I heard that, my heart was in my throat. I learned that her husband was in the hospital, and she is someone that I've known for the better part of a decade, and whose family I know, and who I care about deeply. And I almost couldn't form a sentence upon hearing the news, just because the swell of all of my emotions. And there was no part of that internal experience that was like, I told you so. You know, at that point, she had had one of her vaccines in preparation for being ready for the governor's mandate. And it's so complex to try to hold this sorrow and grief and concern for her circumstances, and this frustration about what did you think was going to happen? Because in my mind, what has happened is the logical consequence for not being vaccinated, and trying not to hold anxiety in my heart about who did you expose in the infusion clinic while you were sick and before you knew it, and how are they doing, and not knowing how to navigate. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know that millions of people around the world are trying to sort out how to be in relationship to these very complex emotions. And former me, people pleaser, denier of my own experience me, would have just brushed off all of this side of those emotions, because it's so uncomfortable to feel the harder, more nuanced, complex, negative, I'm putting that in air quotes, emotions that I would have just rushed right through them or brushed them off or denied that I was feeling them. And that didn't serve me. And so I'm really trying to sit with them, contemplate them, try to follow them through to their end, so that I can still find peace and a way through. Because it's not that I want to evict this nurse. It's not that I want to blame her. I want to keep her in the circle of my love. She is in the circle of my love. And it's hard to not still feel some amount of self-righteousness about, duh. But that doesn't feel good either. So this is just a clip to say, I don't know what to make of it, or how to muddle through it, or what the way to handle it is. And I wonder how you handle it in your lives. I wonder what the conversations you're having with your loved ones. I wonder how you've dealt with this with friends in similar circumstances. That's really it. I love you, and I hope that you're managing the emotional burdens and questions arising in your heart today. Until we're together again, be well.